Hello everyone and welcome back to Resilient Recreation. My name is Lindsay and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my outdoor journey and how I really got into this life that I live now, because honestly I know it can be really easy to look on social media and see what other people are doing and kind of fall into this expectation that you have to be some sort of pro or have all this experience and go to all these crazy cool places to really have, a justification of an adventure. And to be honest, I never went to my first national park or did like a big hike or anything like that, or even got off of the East Coast away from where I grew up until I was in my 20s and then more so in my 30s. Growing up, I actually didn't really do a whole lot of like outdoorsy stuff per se. We spent a lot of time outside. I did grow up in a suburban area and I lived pretty close to a lake, so I did have the opportunity to be outside a lot, but I never like fished or hunted or anything. It was really just kind of playing, with the other kids, just soccer, pickup, kickball, baseball, whatever. So I knew that I liked being outside. I was definitely the kid that my mom had to call several times to get to come inside when it was time to have dinner. But as I got older, school, sports, got into more of a structured lifestyle. My mom had to juggle both my sister and myself, and then also her schedule. So we didn't really have time to do the family trips or anything. So I learned everything really, I would say, my 30s. And something that I really want to point out is when I started doing all of these adventures, I didn't have the best gear. I was using a lot of hand-me-downs or borrowed gear, shopping a lot of sales, and a lot of stuff that I have now, honestly, is from entering giveaways. So if I've ever tagged you or reposted and you think that stuff is bogus, I've probably easily earned $3,000 or more in gear just from tagging somebody else in a post. So I didn't really pay for a lot of the things that I have to do these adventures today. I fell back on my friends quite a bit as far as being able to get out, whether it was going with them on trips or coming to visit them wherever they are and being able to explore their areas. I took advantage of that quite a bit in the early stages while I got comfortable with doing the solo hiking and the solo road tripping and all of that. So it really can be done if you really want it, and you don't have to have a huge following or be rich or have parents that took you places all growing up. You can just start whenever, and there's no age restriction or anything. It's not too late, so definitely get out there and give it a shot. And then feel free, of course, to reach out to me or any of your friends who like doing these kinds of things. I promise you, we want to talk about it. So ask us questions and use us as a resource. And where my outdoorsy journey really took off was I ended up meeting this guy who was big into backpacking and had a lot of experience on the Appalachian Trail. And I asked him if I could go with him, and he had an extra set of everything. So I just had to show up and bring my clothes, obviously. And he showed me how to pack my bag, how to look at maps, and how to plan trips, and like just in general, anything that just the 101 on backpacking. And I had a really good time. Unfortunately, just after that trip, I was going away to boot camp. So, of course, I didn't get to do much hiking or anything after that point for a couple months. But when I was in boot camp, I found out that my childhood friend had taken his life and became a statistic to veteran suicide. And that was where I started really diving into these like feelings of grief and this sadness. And so when I came out of that on the other side of all my training, I had some money saved up. So I bought a pack and I went back home for a little bit, and I just started going hiking because I wanted to work on the Adirondack 46, which was a challenge that I had heard about that has been going on for decades now. And I decided that I would give that a go. I went with some friends for a couple hikes, and then eventually one of my hiking partners bailed for one of the trips and I went anyways. And I don't know that I've ever had a moment of empowerment that was so fierce for me than starting that hike just at sunrise. I got there before and I sat in my car because I was afraid of the dark. But I ended up going on that hike and getting up and watching the sun come up the rest of the way as I was hiking up and just going up there and doing that myself. Now, granted, this is 2016, so now there's a lot more solo hikers and solo travelers and everything. But back then, my family was completely up in arms about it. And a lot of people were like, oh my God, you shouldn't have done that. That was foolish. That was reckless, whatever. And so it only made me want to do it more because I'm the type of person that doesn't take no for an answer and loves to challenge themselves. So after that, I finished the 46 the rest of that year, and it just became an addiction. Like, I just wanted to be outside. I wanted to be in the mountains. And so that was really where I realized, like, that was my place that I felt safe and secure and strong and powerful. And so we fast forward a little bit. I get a deployment under my belt, and then I come back from that. I go to visit my best friend in Japan. I come back from that, COVID happens. And so going into that world, right? Huge lockdowns. I'm working in a hospital in Baltimore. And while I loved my patients, I loved my job, after a year and a half of that, I started kind of getting into my feelings again and like wondering where I'm heading, what I'm doing. Because earlier in the year of 2021, I had signed up for this fitness challenge. I started going home a little bit and doing more ultras and stuff in the Northeast, but I wanted more. I didn't want to keep hiking the same trails, and I wanted to do the Boise Trails Challenge, which is an insane mountain biking thing that they opened up to hikers, and so more on that later. But basically, I wanted to go do this thing, and I decided that I was going to quit my job, take my school on the road. Side note, I went back to school because there was nothing else to do during COVID, so I worked on a second bachelor's degree. The reason I did the 2021 mile challenge was to raise money for Boot Campaign, which is a nonprofit organization that supports veterans and mental health care. So this was pretty important to me, and I was feeling by the time I quit my job that I was way behind schedule, and the Boise Trails Challenge was going to help me get like 170 miles in 2 weeks and kind of like get back on track and hit all the state high points that I could hit driving from Virginia out to Idaho. And I did all of this sleeping in the back of my Subaru Forester with my backpacker's like sleeping pad, an ultralight thermarest, and my sleeping bag, and it was summer, so it was too hot for that. So I just had like some regular sheets and a blanket. So I completely bare-boned this whole adventure with that and a bag full of ramen and a jet oil. But I will tell you that there is nothing that can show you that you are more capable than literally hopping in your car with a bag full of clothes and the bare minimum enduring a sore back to just head across the country and figure it out as you go. Because I literally had no plan besides getting to the Boise Trail Challenge. When I did all of that stuff and all of the hikes that I did and all of the places I stopped, all the people I met, there was something that changed, and I don't know exactly how to explain it, but I just I just felt that change. I felt the weight lift off my shoulders. I just felt whole, and I felt light, and all of the grief and all of the pain and everything that I had been carrying with me all of this time, just everything that I had gone through up until that point in my life, just kind of felt like it made sense. Like I became the person who I was supposed to be in doing this adventure. And I think it's actually kind of interesting because my parents definitely not thrilled on the idea. Obviously, their youngest daughter heading off into the wilderness, doing whatever, God knows where she's going to end up, just going off the seat of her pants, going across the country, hoping she might have cell service or someone might notify them if I wound up dead. So I get it. But when I came back from that trip and I showed my dad the pictures and told him about my experiences, he came back and said that that was the best thing I could have done for myself. And so it became a reality when I started hearing people talk about how much they've seen me grow, or how I'm glowing, or all of the positive feedback I got from that journey. And I can't even explain what changed, why or how, or if there was a definitive point, but I just feel like that entire trip and just getting that chance to just get out there and experience something different completely changed my life. And now that is a feeling I'm addicted to. This is already going to be a long enough video, so I will stop it there. I would love to hear in the comments if there's a specific part of that story that you want to hear more of, or if there's questions, comments, we can definitely have that conversation, or it might spark inspiration for another piece. And hopefully in the future, I will be going back to a couple of the destinations on this journey later on this year. So I would love to be able to take you out to those places and show you them. So those will definitely be on video. Thank you for tuning in and listening. I appreciate all of you and your support. So please let me know questions, comments, concerns. I'd love to hear it. And I definitely look forward to sharing more of this with you in the future. You guys have a good one.